and what's up to you all, mindsetters, metric mindsetters. Today we're doing business studies. My name is Abram, and of course we do have Tanya in the building. Tanya, how are you?
I'm really well, thanks. And you?
I'm also good. Tell the mindsetters, what are we doing today?
Today we're going to be looking at business ventures and business environments and going into depth from the 2014 exemplar.
Nice one. So guys, revision, it is that time for you guys to revise more with us. But as you can see next to me, I've got Sia.
Hey.
You probably know her. She's like a mindsetter. She's mindset. Am I right? She's just mindset because she's been following us from high school up until right now. She's a huge fan of us, but she is one of the top 5 presenters. Sia, are you feeling good?
I'm
Ready
okay.
for business studies?
I'm okay. What can happen?
All right. Well, my sister Sia is going to be telling you guys about an awesome competition that we have during this winter school, as I also have a surprise for you guys. So I'll jump to the smart board, kick Tanya a bit, and then I'll tell the mindsetters, you cool?
Okay, cool. Hi, Mindsetters. As you've heard, my name is Sia. I'm so excited to be here with you guys for a full 90 minutes. How exciting is that? So I hope you're prepared for this show. Just in case you're not, please go onto our website, which is learn.mindset.co.za. Get all our notes. I've actually also posted the direct links on Facebook and Twitter. Who's your girl? So all you got to do is follow us at Learn Extra and like our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/learn.
Right, thanks, Sia. Well, mindsetters, we have an exciting app that we want to tell you more about. It is the Explore and Learn, proudly brought to you by Intel. Firstly, we're so grateful from Intel for proudly sponsoring us with a tablet that we're giving away. Well, this Explore and Learn, it is a cool application that you could get yourself onto. Download it, mindsetters, because that's where you can get some cool content. We've got 3 countries already that have this app. There's Kenya, there's South Africa, and there's Nigeria. Come on, guys, South Africans, let's register right now because we can't be beaten by Nigeria, can we, Sia?
No.
Guys, let's get registering. All you need to do is to click on South Africa. Tanya is probably saying, oh, Abraham, you're not choose to being a teacher. Okay, you click on South Africa. I don't know what, I think it's Tanya, guys, sorry. Right, yes. You click on South Africa, and then it's going to take you to this page. We'll post the link for you guys already. We'll post for you on Facebook. On this Explore and Learn, you download this app, and you could get some really cool content. We've got mindset content on it. So remember, it is Explore and Learn, and you could get yourself some awesome prizes also because we love being generous. But from Intel, we're so grateful. Sia, tell them more about the competition.
Yes, guys, that's not all that Intel is doing. They're actually giving away a tablet. All you have to do is get onto our Facebook page, facebook.com/learn extra, and then click on our QR link. When you're there, you have to pick one of 4 teams between Costa Rica, Colombia, Brazil, and Netherlands. Just pick your team, whatever team you pick, guys. Then come back to Facebook, like the team on our Facebook page. The team with the most like is the one where all the people who liked it are gonna go into a draw. And then from that draw, we're gonna pick our Friday winner. Remember, you only have until 3:30 to do that, and then all our winners for this week are going to go into a grand prize where they can win that Intel tablet. Get started, guys. Anyway, that's enough for me for now. Tanya, let's do the lesson.
So, like I said earlier, we're looking at business ventures and business environments. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at the previous paper, or the 2014 exemplar. Now, the first question I selected for you was question 2. If you have the exemplar, you can follow along if you've downloaded the notes, hopefully. And let's have a look. So it says, read the case study below and answer the questions that follow. It's always very important, grade 12s, to read the case study. What I found often is people read the case study and then they answer the questions from the knowledge they have, not taking into account the case study. And what often happens then is you lose marks because you're not referring to the actual case study. So grab your highlighter and you can follow along with me. So this is Nathaniel's Brick and Tiles. So Nathaniel's Brick and Tiles specializes in the manufacturing of bricks and floor tiles. They have 20 workers who are directly involved in the manufacturing of this process. Sam, one of the employees, was injured at work, it's very important, and lost his arm despite all the necessary health and safety requirements being in place. Sam demanded that he be paid out for losing his arm. Now, Nathaniel's Brick and Tiles refused to pay Sam's refused to pay Sam, arguing that it was not the business's responsibility to compensate workers for injuries sustained while they are on duty. Now, the first thing you need to do before we even look at the question is think of the legislation involved here. So go through the list, which ones do you know involve workers' injuries, and that'll give you a good idea towards where you'll be going with this question. So the question is asking you, 1.1, name and explain the act that allows Sam to claim for compensation. So this is a two-folded question, grade 12s. So they're asking you to name it, so give the actual law, which would be the, we'll see now, the law involved with that, and you have to explain it. So this will be 2 marks for naming and 2 marks for explaining. The law involved with this would be the Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Diseases Act. Remember, this act is all about, like the word says, compensation. So it's actually getting money for being injured. And remember, according to this law and this legislation, you have to be injured at work and following all the correct procedures. So now we've named the law. Now let's look at how we're going to explain it. Now, the purpose of the Compensation of Occupational Injuries and Diseases Act is to provide compensation for disablement caused by occupational injuries or diseases sustained or contracted by employees in the course of their employment, or the death resulting from such an injury or disease, and to provide for matters connected therewithin. Now, what they're saying there is, so we know this person was injured while they were at work, and we're also aware that this person was using the correct safety equipment. So in all told, this person can rightfully claim from this. So let's have a look at the next question. It asks you, do you think Sam's demand for compensation is justified? Now, I've already sort of touched on that, and let's have a look. And what they're saying is support your opinion with a reason. So this is sort of a do you agree, yes or no kind of thing. But what's important is that you justify it. So let's look at the justification. So according to the COIDA, supports Sam's claim for compensation since he was injured while he was on duty. So remember, you can only claim if you're injured at work. Now, the COIDA also prevents employees like Sam from suing the employer, and for damages as the employee can claim from the compensation fund. Now, Sam has fulfilled the health and safety requirements and will get compensation from the compensation fund. So this is a twofold thing they're saying here. So the actual company will not be sued if he gets the compensation, so it's sort of covering the company. And Sam will obviously be compensated for the loss of his arm, which will affect his work in future. The next question going with this case study looks at explain the procedure that Sam must follow to claim for compensation. So it's not just simply going, I want this money. There's a way of going about this. So the first thing the person has to do, so Sam must report an accident resulting in an injury before the completion of the shift, either verbally or in writing. So Sam literally has to tell them when it happened, either verbally or actually writing it down so the company knows. And then the second step, so we can look at that as the first step, the second step would be the employer must send the employee to a medical practitioner or hospital as the doctor's report is submitted with the formal complaint. So 2 very important things there. Sam has to say that this has happened, and the employer has to send him to a doctor to get a medical report. Next, the employer should collect as much information about the accident and submit it together with an official claim form within 7 days to the Compensation Commission. So the third step is sending in this information within 7 days. And there's a few more steps. Let's quickly go through it. So the commissioner will acknowledge that the claim was lodged and that all paperwork around the claim is in order. Now, by issuing a claim number to the employer, So that's step 4. Let me just double check. Yes, step 4. Step 5. The commissioner will only accept liability for the claim after the documentation and medical reports has been submitted and is convinced that the worker was not involved in any misconduct. And in this case, grade 12s, misconduct will literally be if you're a worker in a factory and you're supposed to be wearing safety boots, a hard hat, proper gloves. If Sam wasn't wearing any of that and he got injured, obviously he was being negligent and the claim might not necessarily go through. Now, the last 2 parts here, it's the employer, or so the employee, Sam, must notify the employer within 12 months, so that's 1 year, of the occurrence of the accident that he wants to lodge a claim. Otherwise, the claim will expire and the employee will not be able to make any claims after that. Now, the claims go through the employer. So the employer and the employee have to work together. So that's 6, and let's just quickly do 7. The last part here, the amount of compensation is dependent on the seriousness of the injury or disease and how responsible the employee was for the injury. For the Compensation Act, it's different things have different value. For example, so if you are right-handed and you injure your right arm, the compensation will be slightly higher. And that's how it escalates. But the steps that need to be followed are very important, else the person will not be able to get the claim, even if it wasn't their fault. I want to do one more question. Question 2. Before we even get to question 2, there's one more that goes with this one. Discuss the consequences for Nathaniel's bricks and tiles for not complying with the Act. So literally, if the company decides not to pay, if this tile and brick company go, well, listen, we actually don't care, we're not going to do this, there are penalties involved. And remember, with legislation, according to the new curriculum, you need to know penalties and you need to know what will require to comply with this. So let's quickly have a look at what will happen if they do not comply to the situation. So if they do not comply, Nathaniel's brick and tiles can be fined, so that's the first thing that could happen, for refusing to lodge the claim. And the second thing that's important here, this company can be forced to make large payments if the business did not take the necessary precautions according to the Act, so making sure that their workers aren't safe. And lastly, so the first part there that I want you to know, grade 12s, they could face a fine, and other parts to this, other penalties, if they were found guilty of not doing this, they could face imprisonment. So literally, by not complying with this Act, they could get fines, and not just fines, they could actually literally get jail time for breaking the law. Now that we've finished with that, we can finally get to question 2 quickly and have a look at that. So question 2, again from the exemplar, and this was question 2.2, it asks you, recommend measures businesses can introduce to ensure that their operations do not affect the human health negatively. And remember, grade 12s, the most important here, and I always tell everybody I teach, you want a happy worker. Why? Because a happy worker is a healthy worker, and a healthy worker is a hard worker. So you literally want to look after your employees, because that way you know they're going to be working hard and increasing productivity and essentially your profitability if that's your business. So keeping that in mind, how would you ensure that the operations do not affect your workers negatively? First off, so the first one here is safety and healthy working environments for employees and customers must be provided. The second one, products must contain information about the ingredients used in the manufacturing of the product and warning messages if necessary. Next, the workplace should have adequate lighting and ventilation. Another issue here, hazardous materials should be stored in a safe place and in a safe manner. Now, there's a number of things that can go through when you're doing this. So as you go through this, you can hear these are issues like basic conditions of employment, so having healthy environments where there's lighting, making sure if any products are harmful, that those products are kept separate from your workers, for example, as well as when you're selling a product, at the back of every product there's information on the ingredients, and it's making sure that your customers know what they're buying. So, end of question 2. Abram.
Okay, mindsetters, that was a lot to take in. So we're going to take a quick break just to allow you to consolidate all of your notes. In the meantime, don't forget that there's a survey that you can complete if you like. There's a brand new Samsung tablet to be won, and our competition where there's an Intel tablet to be won. Guys, we're so generous. There's no excuse not to enter our competition, even if you don't win. There's lots of airtime sponsored by Vodacom to be won. So please enter our competition, guys. See you after the break. Welcome back, Mindsetter. We're still doing business studies. As you can see, I've kicked Abram out. I'm joking, he had to go do something. He'll be back later. But in the meantime, guys, don't forget to interact with me on our Facebook page, facebook.com/LearnExtra, and follow us on Twitter @LearnExtra. Back to our lesson, guys.
So, before the break, we were looking at question 2. Question 3 now, we're going in a slightly different direction, so let's have a look. So, question 3, it asks us, businesses operate in diverse communities and they have a diverse workforce. Discuss the obligations of businesses in terms of their broad-based approach with specific reference to inclusivity. So this question is really asking 2 different things. So they're asking you to first consider, well, to discuss the obligations of business, and moreover, they want you to focus on inclusivity. So let's have a look at this. So inclusivity, the definition means giving everyone an equal opportunity. This means no discrimination against anyone on the basis of their race, gender, sexual orientation, disability, HIV/AIDS status should be allowed. So literally with inclusivity, you want if you can keep in mind things like demographics, you need to make sure that you have a good mix of male, female, people with different types of ability. That would include disability, and also not discriminating against anybody on any basis. Continuing on with this, a diverse workforce should represent the demographics of the country and should work together harmoniously to the benefit of the business and society. So demographics, remember, that's basically the study of South Africa, for example, how old people are, male, female, ethnic background, etc. Included with this, no one should be excluded because of their language, because of the language they speak, or because they are disabled. Also, no one should be excluded from the economic mainstream because of their race or status. And lastly, all employees should have access to company resources and skills development programs. So as you can see here, it's a large thing. It's taking people of different races, religions, cultures, languages, and giving everybody equal opportunity to take part in the economy of South Africa, but also to have a fair chance to grow in a business going further. Question 4, let's have a look at that. Question 4, and if you're following with your exemplar, it's question 2.5. You'll see the question asks us, the Labour Relations Act provides for the establishment of trade unions and employer organizations. And the question they're asking you here is distinguish between these 2 types of organizations. So what you need to think here, so it's Labour Relations Act. We know this is all about various things, but this is the relationship between the state, employer, employee, as well as protection of employees, as well as protection of business owners. So let's look at the difference between trade unions and employer organizations. So first off, trade unions. We should all be quite familiar with trade unions. The definition, it's an organization formed by workers to protect their interests, such as better working conditions and remuneration through collective bargaining. Okay, collective bargaining, remember grade 12s, collective bargaining is where you sit down and you discuss the different issues. So if you are unhappy about working conditions, working hours, etc., it will be discussed. On the other hand, employer organizations, and remember this is part of obviously companies. Now, an organization that protects the rights of the employers and makes it possible for employers in the same industry to work together and to negotiate with trade unions. A key word here, grade 12s, would be it's with the employer organizations, it's industry, it's companies in the same industry. So if you are, let's look at mining, so you would have organizations that focus on mining. If it's retail, all the retailers will have their organizations. And the reason for this is obviously, remember, there's different legislation depending on working hours, conditions, and it will make more sense, or it makes more sense for businesses to stick to what they know and work towards their specific employee needs. Okay, so with that in mind, let's go to one more question, and this is question 5. Question 5, still looking at legislation, it's asking us evaluate the impact of the Consumer Protection Act on businesses. And before I answer the question, it's handy to always know what the little abbreviations and acronyms are. So Consumer Protection Act would be CPA. So if you see that, you know it's Consumer Protection Act. So what is the impact of the Consumer Protection Act on business? There are two. So the Consumer Protection Act isn't just about protecting people, it's also about protecting the business. But there also obviously would be positives and negatives to the Consumer Protection Act and the effect it will have on business. So let's have a look at the positives. So the first positive we have here is there is now only one law for protecting consumers, and it makes it easier to enforce and apply the law. So if there's one law, it's easy, everybody knows they need to follow it. The second advantage would be protects the consumers from unfair, exploitive, and aggressive businesses and marketing activities. And this is about, in the past, companies could be very aggressive in their marketing, sending you lots of things in the mail, phoning you constantly, trying to get you to buy their product. And this act is really there to try and protect us from being harassed, literally. The next positive, it promotes consumers' rights and ensures that businesses do not violate any of these rights. It also allows all consumers fair access to goods and services. With this act, it also educates consumers about how to participate in the goods and services market responsibly. So it's about creating consumer education and making sure people know their rights. Another positive would be it enables consumers and businesses to resolve disputes fairly and in a way that respects the rights of both parties. Now, disputes may also be addressed by the National Consumer Commission. So if the two parties disagree, so the consumer and the producer disagree very much on what happened, this will then be referred to the National Consumer Commission, where these things will be resolved. Another positive, it ensures consumers do not buy goods of poor quality which do not meet the quality standards. And this should sort of bring you also back, grade 12s, to previous grades where we looked at South African Standard Bureaus, where, you know, if you go buy a light bulb, for example, that light bulb should work exactly the same as another light bulb because there are standards set. And that's what that's about, protecting the consumers and what they've bought. Also, it forces businesses to promote and provide consumer education. And lastly, consumers are forced to make responsible and informed decisions. Now, what this means is making responsible and informed decisions. So if you go to a shop and you feel like buying something and you turn, let's say it's a packet of sweets, you turn it around, you read the ingredients list, you know how much sugar is in there, you know exactly what you're going to be eating. So you're making an informed decision And this has been provided by companies to make sure that you make good choices. Now, obviously, with every positive, there'll probably be a negative. So let's have a look at the negative aspects of the Consumer Protection Act. Now, with the negatives, first off, businesses must disclose more information about their products and processes. Now, this would be a disadvantage because if you think about a lot of products, you know, if I could make it at home, geez, why not? You know, they look at the back of the packet, or let's see if I can use those ingredients and get the same result. So by forcing companies to disclose more information about their product, it's theoretically also giving their competition a bit of a heads up of what they might be doing differently, and that could be used to their disadvantage. Another negative would be the Act encourages consumers to complain. Maybe not a bad thing, I suppose. Sia, what do you think about people complaining about?
I'm a complainer myself, so I'm not gonna comment, hey?
Okay, I think it's good. I think we should be able to complain because we are paying for something, we want a certain quality, and we should get what we
As a law
want.
student, I support freedom of speech all the time, so go complainers.
Good, so I also agree. I think complaining, not unnecessary complaining, but complaining is good. Next, consumers can take advantage of businesses with the Consumer Protection Act. We're not going to go into too much detail, but that would also go hand in hand with the complaining. Next, the process and procedures required for businesses by the Act can be expensive and time-consuming. So literally from a financial perspective, this would be negative on a business. The next point, some businesses feel they are unnecessarily burdened by the processes required by the CPA. And remember, as we said before, this could be time-consuming and also expensive, so it's a burden. Another aspect here, if companies do not comply or non-compliance may result in heavy penalties. Okay, so they will have to pay fines for not following the law. Next, staff need to be trained and legal experts need to be consulted, which can be expensive for smaller businesses. And business documents need to be redone, translated in order to comply with the requirements that consumers have the right to receive contracts in simple and understandable language. So the Consumer Protection Act, grade 12s, it involves companies not just sending out information in, let's say, just English and written by, you were speaking about law, written by somebody in a very difficult language. So what companies now need to do is make sure that they can send out information in any language or any of our official languages and write it in such a way that anybody can understand what they're getting themselves into, for example. So again, not completely a bad thing, just time-consuming and probably expensive. Another negative, the provisions in the Act increase the risk for insurance companies in protecting businesses against unforeseen claims and lawsuits. Another issue, supply chain management for stock levels will have to be managed differently as defective goods have to be replaced within 6 months at the request of the customer. So if you buy something according to the Consumer Protection Act, you have 6 months to go back and say, well, listen, I bought this vacuum cleaner, it's not working, I need it replaced, fixed, but you have the right as a consumer to have this product, given, well, either a new product or a fixed product, and these companies have to take this loss. So remember, every time you take something back, that product, if it had to be replaced, is now going to become loss. It's going to be a loss because you're not going to be able to sell it. And let's do 2 more. The last 2 negatives. Legal contracts must be worded in plain language and pitched at the level of the consumer who's being targeted. We've discussed that. And lastly, information technology systems need to be improved as the retailer must keep more detailed records of the interactions with consumers and be able to report to the National Consumer Commission. So literally, what does that mean for companies? It means they have to have extra paperwork. So they need to make sure that they have a strong with their customer base, that they have information on those customers, and this will obviously require time, somebody sitting there capturing this data and just being responsible for this information. End of question 5. I'm going to take it over to Sia.
Okay, guys, don't forget you only have until 3:30 to enter our competition. There's 4 teams. All you have to do is like one of them. The one that has the most likes, all those people that like that team, go into a draw. Guys, a whole Intel tablet to be won. And if you don't win, there's Vodacom airtime to be won. Anyway, we're going to give you time now to consolidate your notes. See you after the break. Welcome back, guys. Guys, don't forget, we really need to know from you how we are doing. So if you like, please participate in our survey. It's on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/learnextra. And you could even win a Samsung tablet just for participating. So please tell us how we're doing. And don't forget to keep your comments coming in. Give Miss T some questions. She'd like to know where you guys are still struggling. Anyway, Miss T, let's do question 6.
Okay, so question 6, we're going to moving on to looking at presentations. And remember, presentations, I always find these almost like free marks, because you know it can only really be either verbal or non-verbal, and there's only a few options you can go with each of them. So with this question, they ask you to identify the type of presentation. So this question starts and it asks us, name the type of presentation described in each statement below. So this question will require you to take knowledge and apply what you've known or what you've learned up to now. The first one, so 6.1, printed copies of financial statements to support an electronic presentation on the year's financial results. In this case, grade 12s, it will be a verbal type of presentation. It's mixed, but it'll be mostly verbal. Remember, if you're doing a presentation, you're going to be telling your audience about it. It's going to be quite awkward just putting something up and having people sit there and read it, or just handing something out and having people read it. So the first part of this, it's a verbal presentation, and what they are using are handouts and notes. The next scenario asks us production figures for 2013 and 2014 on a histogram. So it's telling us that this is a graphic thing, and this would be non-verbal. And what type of presentation? A graph. So remember, with graphs, grade 12s, often when you get a lot of information, what they'll do is, instead of just giving you, let's say, a paragraph with lots of different numbers in it, it's a lot easier to take that information and put it into a different type of graph or chart to make it easier for the person to understand the business-related information you want to share with them. The third scenario tells us it's a short video explaining the steps to complete an application form. So what's happening here? If it's a video, we know we're gonna hear it. So it would be verbal, and because it's a short video explaining it, it's going to be audio visual. These are really nice, easy marks, figuring out whether it's verbal or non-verbal, and just what exactly are they using. Number 6.4, drawings and pictures in the user manual for a fax machine. So this would be obviously non-verbal grade 12s, because it's only looking at drawings and pictures, and we know it's out of a booklet of sorts because it's a user manual. So it's non-verbal and it's illustrations. The next type of presentation is a flowchart explaining the steps in the production process. So again, it would be non-verbal, and what are they using? They're using diagrams and charts. You'll see this question is out of 10 marks. So you will probably get 2 marks for saying verbal or non-verbal, and then another 2 marks for explaining what it actually is. So if it's a graph or any of the other ones. So saying non-verbal, verbal, and it's a graph, for example. So just be clear that you always make sure that you write both of them down. The next question we're going to be looking at, question 7, is asking us to distinguish between limited liability and unlimited liability. Now, the first thing when you hear this question, you know we are moving towards looking at different types of businesses. And remember, it can go from a sole trader all the way down to a public, private company, any type of company. And liability will always be very important, because remember that your form of ownership will affect your tax, how the company is run, your level of liability, and all those little extra things that you need to know. So let's have a look. So distinguish between limited and unlimited liability. The first part here is limited liability. Now, limited liability means shareholders or owners. This means that shareholders, owners, or owners' possessions or assets are protected in the event that the business becomes insolvent or is liquidated. Now, shareholders cannot lose more than what they have invested in a business. So I want to stop that there quickly and just go explain that a little bit more. So with limited liability, literally grade 12s, what will happen is you cannot lose any of your personal assets, and your money is your money and it's safe. The only part where you will lose money as a shareholder is, remember, when you initially buy shares. So let's say you bought 10,000 rands worth of shares. If the company becomes liquidated, the company falls apart, etc., the only thing you will lose is your initial 10,000 rand. Okay, so they're not going to come try and find the rest of the money from you. All you lose is your initial shares bought, for example. The next one is unlimited liability. And unlimited liability, always, as soon as I hear that, I think of two things: sole proprietor or partnership. And let's see why and what is unlimited liability. Now, unlimited liability means that the owner's assets are attached to the business. So this means that the owner or partners can lose everything and even more than what they've invested in a business. So remember, with a sole trader and a partnership, where do you get your capital from? You get your capital from either your own savings or getting loans from the bank. Now, all of that has risk involved. So those two forms of ownership, if something goes wrong with a business and you owe, let's say, 100,000 rand, and you've sold all the assets of your company, and there's still, let's say, 30,000 rand outstanding, that 30,000 rand will then be found. They'll get that 30,000 rand literally from you, the owner, and that is where your assets could be lost. So cars, homes, any assets you own will be sold to cover the loss that they've made from your creditors. I hope this is all ringing a bell. This is a lot of the stuff you did from grade 10, 11, and 12, and limited and unlimited liability becomes very, very important when choosing a form of ownership. The next question, following on from here, is looking at compare the success or failure of a personal liability company and a partnership in terms of, there are three things: capacity, legislation, and management. So the first part of this question, grade 12s, you need to identify what are the two forms of ownership, yeah? So one of them would be a partnership, and another one is a personal liability company. This question is worth 12 marks, so it's quite important that you answer each of these in line with what they're asking. So with capacity, look at partnerships, and then look at personal liability. Open the memo up. And what I want to do is I want to show you in this diagram, so I'm going to show you both the positives of the one company compared to the other company, and then we'll compare the failures or disadvantages as well. So the first one, looking at a partnership, success factors of, let's just quickly, so we're all on the same page, we're looking at 8.1 and it's capacity. So for a partnership, looking at capacity, what would be the success factors? So the first success factor of a partnership is that it's easy and inexpensive to start. It shows potential for growth because partners contribute their skills, their money, their knowledge. Still part of the capacity, a success factor would be expansion is possible because more partners can join the partnership, and you could have a financial capacity to benefit from good discounts for bulk purchases. So from the capacity perspective, a partnership has a number of success factors that will help them. Remember, partnership, it's 2 to unlimited, and so there's always chance for more people to join the partnership, but just keep in mind, the more people are in the partnership, you're going to start having to look at how your profits are shared. Now, the next one, looking at a personal liability company, the success factors here, so, and it's just, I'm going to use what they've got here, PLC. So a personal liability company can attract more shareholders because ownership, just quickly fix that up, can attract more shareholders because ownership is controlled by the new Companies Act. Also, as the personal liability company becomes more successful, the value of their shares will increase and the PLC may approach more investors. And lastly, directors are geared to improve the business prospects in the marketplace. So comparatively, just even comparing the two, for a personal liability company, they can sell shares, and that means they can get more money going through that route, where with a partnership, it's attracting more people, and so it becomes a bit more tricky. So those are the both success factors for capacity for those two forms of ownership. What would, on the other hand, affect the business in a different way would be failure factors. So the failure factor for a partnership, looking at capacity, would be in large partnerships, the partners may struggle to agree on business issues. Also, the more partners in the partnership, the more difficult it is to control expenses and partners' drawings. So failure with a partnership would include, remember, the more people have a say, the more people would want to get involved. So making decisions quickly, for example, would become difficult. So it's easy to make a decision if you're one person. It becomes a bit more tricky if there's 5 of you trying to agree on one thing. Now, in the same line, let's have a look at the failure factors for a personal liability company. First off, it does not have a capacity to draw on a large financial resources, therefore cannot grow into financially strong companies, and it is expensive to run the company, and profits may not be sustainable, resulting in liquidation. So with a personal liability company, there are also negative issues that will affect them. So remember, when you're looking at this question, grade 12s, you're looking at, if they ask you to evaluate, evaluate always means looking at the good and the bad, or success and failure factors. The second part to this question, they were asking us to look at how these companies are affected by legislation. So with legislation in mind, success factors, remembering now for a partnership, would be it's easy and expensive to establish it's probably easy and inexpensive to establish partners, and partners must draw up a partnership agreement. So it's easy to establish a partnership. Why? Because I can just sit here with Sia and say, listen, hey, let's start a business. It's not going to be too much paperwork, and we can move forward from there. Okay. The next part here, partnerships may apply for local tenders, which is good. Remember, that's good money. And also, partners are more motivated to make a success because of their personal possessions that are at risk. So with legislation, it's less documentation for partnerships. It's easier to establish, and it will probably be less expensive to do this. Looking on the other side, what would be the success factor of a personal liability company? It's the rights and duties of the shareholders are stipulated in the Companies Act and therefore minimizing unethical and corrupt behavior. Also, you may obtain government tenders as PLC is let's try this again. May obtain government tenders as PLC is proprietary registered according to the Companies Act, as well as shareholders have limited liability. So with a partnership, you've got a chance of losing your house. With a PLC, you don't have a chance of losing your house. Remember, you're just going to be losing part of whatever shares you bought into the company. Let's quickly do the last part of this. Or you know what, Sia? I will get everybody to catch up when I get back.
Okay, cool, that's fine. Mindsetters, you've got 10 more minutes to enter our competition. Don't forget that, and go get yourself something warm while me and Tanya have a quick chat. Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're enjoying the show with us. Don't forget 7 more minutes for that competition, guys. A free Intel tablet to be won. Who does not want a free tablet? Me and Miss T was just talking about how if we were in matric, we'd be entering the competition. I mean, all you have to do is like a soccer team, guys. Anyway, I hope your notes are consolidated. Don't forget to get your notes on our website if you've just joined us. That's learn.mindset.co.za. And back to Miss T.
So before the break, grade 12s, we started looking at partnerships and personal liability companies, and we were looking at success failures and failure factors. And we sort of got halfway through with looking at the success factors. Let's have a look at the failure factors regarding legislation. So what could cause failure in a partnership according to legislation? It could be, well, the first reason is unlimited liability of the partners, which means they are jointly and severally liable for the debts of the business. And we've discussed this. Remember, if they can't pay their debts, they might lose their house, car, etc. Another part of the failure related to the legislation, if one partner dies or retires, the remaining partners need to draw up a new partnership agreement, which isn't that serious, as we discussed earlier. You know, if starting a partnership is quite simple, so if one partner dies, resigns, any of that, it'll still be quite a simple process to get your partnership agreement going. Looking at possible failure, or what would cause failure in a personal liability company, would be, according to legislation, it is expensive and complicated to register a business, a personal liability company. Also, a personal liability company and its directors, past and present, are jointly liable for any debts and liabilities incurred of the business. Okay, that's a little bit scary, but if you've just bought it as a shareholder, you have different liability issues there. And the last one here, an audit is required only if the personal liability company meets the requirements test as stipulated in the Act. So there's also the additional costs of having your books audited to make sure, remember, if shares are involved, you need to make sure that everything is above board and the company is working towards a good profit. The last part of this question was just to remind you quickly, because we did have a break, you have to compare the success or failure of a personal liability company and a partnership in terms of capacity, we've done, legislation, we've done, and now we're going to look at management. So part of the success factors regarding management for a partnership would be partners can use each owner's expertise and make collective decisions. So with management, you can get more ideas, which makes it easier to grow and get more ideas. Also, all partners are actively involved in the management of the business. And remember, it's like everything else. If you feel like you're part of something, you will generally give more of yourself. Because you're being involved in something, but also remember these partners have their personal belongings at stake. So what they will have to do is they will work extra hard to make sure, obviously, they don't lose their belongings. The failure of a failure factor for a partnership could be quick decisions cannot be made, as all parties should be informed. So it could be quite time consuming coming up with new ideas or just making any decision quickly. Then if too many partners are involved in the day-to-day running of the business, it may hamper the success of the business. And that's really the whole theory of too many cooks spoil the broth. So I have a good idea, you have a good idea, and we all want our ideas to be used. And this isn't necessarily helping the business as much as perhaps an ego thing even, that's not helping the business go forward. And lastly, some partners may not work as hard as others, and again, that will negatively influence it. Then on the other hand, yeah, remember, these are personal liability companies. Success factors with management would be PLC is managed by a competent board of directors who may be experts in their field. So they will know exactly what they're doing and make very good informed decisions. Next, quick decisions can be made even if there's only one director. So again, because it's less time consuming, if you need to make a quick call on should we buy this new stock, should we get a new supplier, any of those things could be made quickly, and this could also help your company get ahead of the market. So where the partnerships are sitting there trying to discuss what should we do, in a company like this, they can make a decision faster and perhaps get into the market faster. But with positives, remember, there could be negatives. What could cause the failure of this? So the board of directors may not have personal interest in the company. And remember, if you're not personally interested, you might not give as much per se. And lastly, directors may not be motivated to work very hard because the shareholders have the powers to decide on the directors' remuneration. So literally in this form of ownership, shareholders decide how much these people will be paid. And if they do not feel like they're getting a good deal, they might not give as much as what they would have. That's the end of this question. That was quite a big question, lengthy. What I want to do with you now, grade 12s, I want to go and look at an essay quickly, just look at some essay skills, and then we can come back looking at the shorter type of questions. Sia, can you just quickly give me a sec while I change the board, yeah?
Okay, that's okay. Mindset is, in the meantime, let me just take this opportunity to remind you, our competition closes literally in a few seconds. If you haven't liked a team, then you're going to lose out on the opportunity to win a brand new tablet from Intel. And don't forget, you can win a tablet from Samsung if you just fill out our survey. So guys, please do that. Win a free tablet. You can be like me and we can chill, you know? Anyway, Ms. Tia, you ready?
Perfect, thank you, Sia.
Okay, cool.
So grade 12s, part of a lot of what I've heard, what stresses people out are essays. And remember, for your essays coming up in the prelims, finals in general, you'll have 4 essays, you're going to choose 2. So the obvious statement would be, do the SAU? No. Part of essay skills is also perhaps not that, well, you know what, it is. Plan your essay. Often what you think it's a business essay, I just need to write down facts. What's important is to look at how much should I write in my body, is the information I'm giving clear, and keep all of those things in mind. So let's have a look at this essay. So this was question 7 from your exemplar. The statement they've given, Vusi's stores have been experiencing a decline in sales due to a loss of customers to competitors. Okay, so that's the first issue there. So they're losing out because there are other people selling similar things. Now, the management of Vusi's stores decides to conduct a planning session to come up with strategies to increase sales and to attract customers. So this is the statement they're giving you so that you can start thinking about what this essay is about and where you can go with it. The essay question here asks us, formulate 2 possible strategies that Vusi's stores can include in their strategic planning to address the challenges in the scenario. Now, before we even go further, off the bat, what are the challenges? Loss of customers, okay, which will obviously also mean loss of money. The next part to this is discuss how VC stores can apply the Porter's 5 force model to analyze their market environment. So there's a couple of parts to this question, grade 12s. So the first part they're asking you here is formulate 2 possible strategies that VC can use. And the second part of this question, they are asking you to discuss Porter's 5 in relation to this question. So, like any good essay, grade 12s, I just want to give you a heads up, just quickly remind you about essays. Remember, you have to have a heading, okay? And the heading doesn't necessarily have to be fancy, it just has to be in relation to the topic. And also, remember your bodies, or your actual essay is going to look at introduction, body, conclusion. And so let's have a look at what they did, or the answer to the introduction. So you're going to have your heading, and your introduction, you need 2 points, grade 12s. So let's have a look. Businesses should conduct a strategic management process in order to devise effective strategies that are relevant to identified challenges. So that's your first point you can use in your introduction. Second point, a strategy is a plan of action to address an opportunity or to resolve a problem. Now, what I like to teach my grade 12s, often with the introduction, if you're not sure what to do, look at using facts that you know related to this topic. You could use facts, you could use definitions, but make it relevant. Make it, remember, we're looking at this company's having a problem. What are we going to do to help this company? We know where we're going with this in the body. So that's your introduction done. Let's move on to the body. As you can see here, there's a number of different things you could have used in your introduction. I just used 2, but a nice one that I see here that I just want to show you is that they've also used the definition of Porter's 5. So Porter's 5 forces model helps businesses to understand and analyze or consider both the strengths of its current competitive position and the advantages of a position in its considering moving into this market. So again, can you see there's many different options you can use in your introduction. But remember, don't spend too much time on your introduction, as it's going to leave our time going further. See, I just want to quickly ask you to talk to the audience. I just want to fix the board, yeah.
Okay, no, that's fine. Our mindset is, unfortunately, our competition is closed now. However, I'm crossing fingers for every single one of you who entered. Personally, I'm with Team Brazil. I have no idea why. Don't forget, keep interacting with me on the Facebook page. It's facebook.com/LearnExtra. And guys, there's no interaction on Twitter. What is wrong with you? It's @LearnExtra. Please tweet. Tell all your friends. And just before we do the draw, I think we're going to do a last segment. And then we're going to see who won a free tablet. Are we ready, Miss T?
Yes, we are. So now we can get into the body, grade 12s. So remember, you've done your introduction, you're going into your body, and remember, look at what you've underlined. What were the questions? They asked you to look at different 2 strategies, and they'll asked you to look at Porter's 5. So the first part of your body here would be looking at those strategies. So suggested strategies that VC can use to overcome the business challenges. And again, before you get carried away, they're asking you for 2. So the first strategy you can use, VC can launch an intensive advertising campaign. So this would be an intensive strategy, so trying to draw people in. The next thing VC could do would be to improve the quality of his products, that way drawing people into it. And he can also sell his products at a low price, again, drawing into this. What you could use for this section, grade 12s, remember you get different types of business strategies. And these business strategies include different things. Remember, you get things like market penetration, market development, horizontal, backwards integration. And you could have brought all of those things into this essay because they're asking you to provide 2 suggestions. So the suggestions I've got here can be used, but you can also be creative and use other strategies that you know. The second part of this essay, they ask you to look at the Porter's 5. And with Porter's 5, let's quickly go down to it, Porter's 5's forces. Now, grade 12s, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on each of these because I trust at this stage you know what Porter's 5 is. If not, remember we've got those great notes you can download and follow along there. So the first part of the Porter's 5, remember it's the power of suppliers. Remember, the power of suppliers refers to all of Vusi's suppliers, like his raw materials, equipment, etc. And with the power of suppliers, remember they set prices, and if they set their prices up, this will affect Vusi's prices. The next part of the Porter's 5 would be the power of buyers. Okay, and one example where this would be, Vusi must assess how easy it is for his buyers to drive his prices down. Remember, the power of suppliers would be, if you buy in bulk, I expect discount. And the other three would be the power of competitors, so other people selling your product at a similar price. The threat of substitution as part of the Porter's 5. Remember, if I go to the shops and I'm used to buying one loaf or one type of bread, if they don't have it, you know what, I'm just going to buy another type. So if it's easy for customers to buy something else, you need to make sure that you've got that down. And the last part of the Porter's 5 is the threat of new entrants into a market. The threat of new entrants into a market will cause, in the long run, the more people selling the same thing will cause everybody's prices to go down. So that was the body of the essay, grade 12s. And remember, in your conclusion, write something relevant. A nice tip that I want to give you, make it relevant to South Africa. See what's happening in South Africa. We're talking about Vusi's store losing prices, not having a great business strategy, and bring that into what's currently happening. Thank you, Sia.
Mine said it's 20 minutes to the end of the show. Please keep your posts coming in on the page. Shout out to Rambuda and Karabo Twala and Edwin Punch. All of you guys, I'm enjoying interacting with you. And I will pass your questions through to Ms. T during the ad break. So stay tuned to find out more about business studies. Be more prepared for all of your exams, prelims, finals. We got your back, guys. Enjoy the break. Hey guys, look who's back.
Yeah, me, you couldn't keep me. Hey, you couldn't just kick me out. I heard it was like girl talk, what?
Who won the world?
All right, well, guys, I'm here with exciting news since you all know that we have closed officially our winter school exam competition. So here, we've got all the names.
And I get to be Miss Oprah Winfrey. I'm giving away something
All right,
free.
let's see who's our winner, and then we're still going to do the grand draw for all our daily winners for that intel. So this one gets to go to the grand draw.
Okay, so basically we're picking our Friday winner, and
Yes.
then all 5 names from this week are going to go into a grand draw.
Ready?
Can I draw?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Please say it.
Oh, Neswiswa Livuani. Congratulations to you,
Yay!
Neswiswa Livuani. You've been entered to the grand draw, which will take place soon before the end of this show.
I like her because I drew her out, so I really hope you win the tab.
Right, in case you didn't win, there's still some Vodacom airtime. So, mindset is
much
look after for that.
airtime.
Tanya, back to you.
So grade 12, this is the last question. I left this for last. It's a calculation question. It's investments, insurance, that kind of topic. This is looking at insurance, and this question comes up quite often, and let's have a look at it. So the question is, a building, so the 4-story, so a building in the center of Paarl was damaged in a fire. Now the building was insured for 500,000 Rand, and the damages caused was 120,000 Rand. Now the building was valued at 750 Rand. So before we even go further, and I encourage you to do this in the exams, take all the numbers and just have a look so that you know where to find them. So it's the 500,000, 120,000, and the 750,000. So the question is asking us, name the party responsible for assessing the above mentioned claim and determining the extent of the damage. So when something happens and you need to when you need to claim from insurance, a person will come in and have a look at, let's say it's a fire, like in this case, they will come in and they will see how much exactly is damaged. So in this case, the person responsible for looking at this, yes, your first thought might have just been, yes, it's an insurance company, but it goes a little bit further. It's an insurance assessor. So your answer, yeah, grade 12s, the person responsible for assessing is an insurance assessor. The next part of this question, and these are my favorite bits, it's the calculations. It's asking you, calculate the amount of money that will be paid for the fire damage. And important here, it says show all calculations. Often what happens, even if you get the calculation wrong, you will get some sort of like a method mark kind of thing for showing that you know where you were going. You might just have pressed the wrong button on your calculator, essentially. So let's have a look at this. There's a formula for assessing or working out damage. The first thing I want to show you here, grade 12s. So the insured amount times loss or damage. Okay, this is over the market value. So let me just do this in another way quickly to show you in a nice way. So literally the way the formula looks, it's insurance amount over the market value times by the loss or damage over 1. That's the formula for it. If we go back to the scenario, let's have a look. The building was insured for 500,000 Rand. The damage caused was 120, and the building was valued at 750. So this calculation will then show us, so the insured amount was the 500,000 divided by the market value, which was the 750,000, times by the actual damage or loss. I wouldn't worry too much about that way of doing it. This is the way I like doing it, and it generally always works out well. And you'll see that this calculation will end up being 80,000 Rand. So even though the damage was 120,000 Rand, they only got paid out 80,000 Rand. Why? The big reason for this is they were underinsured. So what happens with underinsurance is, obviously, if you've insured this for 500,000 Rand, it's actually valued at 750,000 Rand. They will never pay out the full amount for the damages because you don't pay your full amount for the insurance. And that's the way that works out. The next part of this question, they're asking you, explain the clause that is applicable to the above situation. And I've sort of jumped the gun there a little bit, but the clause that is involved with this, it's called the average clause. And this is applied when the goods or property is underinsured. And that's the key word here, grade 12, underinsured. And this then, the insurance company will not pay out the full amount of the loss. So 2 important concepts here, grade 12s. First off, this calculation that I just did with you is the calculation used to work out what is going to happen if you are underinsured. Obviously, if your building is worth 750,000 Rand, you pay your insurance the worth of that 750,000 Rand, you would get your full 120,000 Rand insurance. On the other hand, some people think it's a good idea, let me insure the building for R1 million. Okay, now what's going to happen is you're not going to get more money if something goes wrong. And that's part of the basic principles of insurance. Nobody can stand a chance of actually gaining money from something that happened, something that went wrong. So neither the insurance company or the insured can financially benefit. And often what companies do, they will choose to rather reinstate the actual issue. Do I have time for one more question?
Yes,
I
you can
think
do
so,
that question, and then we'll do the draft.
Okay, one more question because I'm getting excited. I like the next question because it follows on from this. So this question is asking us, suppose a building is insured for 300,000 Rand and its market value is 200,000 Rand. It is completely destroyed in a storm and rebuilding costs amount to 200,000 Rand. Now, describe the role of the insurance company in this regard. So this question isn't asking you to do a calculation. they're asking you, what is the role of the insurance company? And the role of the insurance company, and just to remind you, okay, so the place is insured for 300,000 Rand. The market value is 200,000 Rand. It was completely destroyed, and to rebuild this building will be 200,000 Rand. So what is the responsibility of the insurance company? So the building is over-insured. The insurance company has the option of reinstatement. So what do they mean with reinstatement? The insurance company will rather replace the damaged building than pay cash for it. So the insurance company will therefore spend 200,000 Rand to rebuild the building, and therefore nobody makes a profit out of the insurance. And like I said, that is the basic principles of insurance. You cannot, even if you insure something for 1 billion Rand and it's only worth 1 million, you will only ever get out that 1 million, and you're probably going to end up paying more on insurance premiums for something you'll never get. Okay, so I'm going to totally give it over to you guys now, and good luck to everyone.
Thank you. The moment we've all been waiting for.
Your fingers crossed, guys.
So all our daily winners are here, and Tanya's gonna draw the name, just to be fair.
How lucky are you guys
Awesome.
feeling?
Okay, I'm gonna do it the old-fashioned way and completely look away.
Do you feel like Oprah right now?
I'm gonna give the prize, and I'll be Oprah.
Okay, you can read it. I can't do this.
Okay. And our winner is Refilwe Siboko. Congratulations to you, Refilwe Siboko.
Congrats,
The
girl.
awesome mental tablet is coming your way, and I think Refilwe was one of our winners on Tuesday.
She won on Tuesday.
Yeah, to be here today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so if you didn't win, hard luck, mindset up. But
Guys, there's still
there's
airtime to be
Vodacom,
won.
airtime.
Vodacom's there for you guys. So congrats to Refilwe. Everyone else, enter other competitions. Do our survey. You could win your own tablet. So that's that. Anyway.
Exactly. Tanya, you done there?
I can always do more. Do you want to do the airtime draw?
One last more.
One more question.
Yeah.
Awesome, grade 12s. Let's carry on. I've got another nice question set up here for you. This is a question from the exemplar. This is question 3.6 if you were following. So Raymond is the manager of fine clothing. He explains work procedures, rewards employees for excellence, and punishes them if targets are not met. Okay, this question is referring to different types of leadership and management. So keeping that in mind, let's just have a look at that again. So what does he do? He explains procedures, but he rewards employees when they do well, and he punishes them if targets aren't met. Now, logically, grade 12s, I just want you to know, when we speak about punishment, it's not like some weird kind of punishment. It's going to be, it could be financial, it could be those kinds of punishments. So keep that in mind. So he rewards people, but he also punishes them. And the question is, identify the leadership style described above. And this leadership style, because it mentions reward and punishment, will be a transactional leadership style. So if you do well, I'll give you something. If you don't do well, we're going to have to sort that out. So transactional literally looks at what's happening at the moment and how we can deal with it. The next scenario looks at evaluate the impact of the leadership style on businesses, on business operations. So evaluate the impact of this leadership style. So remember, what is this leadership style? It's the transactional leadership style. So so there are positives and negatives. I will quite briefly do 2 positives and 2 negatives with you. So being a transactional leader, the positive will encourage employees to work hard because they will receive a reward. Also, it will improve employees' productivity and morale. Why? Because you want the reward. And with rewards also, it could be financial, but it could also be something as simple as having a longer lunch break, for example. And the last positive I have here, the goals and objectives of the business can be achieved because everybody's working towards the better of the business, because essentially it benefits them. What would be the negatives of this form of this style of leadership? Employees can become bored because they have to follow the rules and procedures, therefore there's no space to be creative. Another negative would be transactional leaders will have to monitor the work performed of their employees to ensure that expectations are met, and this can be very time consuming. So sort of a form of micromanaging, which could be a lot of hard work for the actual manager. And the last negative I'll give you, some employees may be demoralized or unmotivated if they fail to reach or meet targets despite having to have worked very hard. So you all know that feeling. So essentially, if you work hard and nothing's happening, you sort of feel like I've done all of this for nothing.
That's
Okay.
so true. Thank you so much, Tara. It's been a very, very insightful show, and I've really learned so much, especially what you first said in the beginning, that if you keep your workers happy, they perform better. And if they perform better, what was that?
Happy workers
Happy
are hard
workers are hard workers, hard
Yeah.
workers make you money.
Exactly.
There we go.
And when they are happy, they make more money for you because they are hard workers. But that's where we have to end it today. But mindset is, remember the Intel Learn, Explore and Learn app, whereby you could also get some awesome prizes because we love giving away prizes. But register to support South Africa on those registration. Let's keep the number going up. Again,
And congratulations once again to Rifilo Soboko. I hope I'm saying your name right. Congratulations. Oh my gosh, a whole Intel tablet, like a brand new one. I don't have an Intel tablet. Okay. Anyway, Tanya, do you have any tips for prelims for our matriculants that are, going to be writing business again? Because, I mean, June exams are over, but, I mean, prelims are still coming up.
Prelims coming up. My best advice, and the advice I will always give people, is stay calm. You've studied the night before, and often when you walk into the exam and you're stressed out, you're not going to perform to your best. And also remember the format. Section A will always be short questions, and take your time, but also know that they've sort of free marks. Then Section B, which is different this year than previous years, you will get 5 questions, and you can choose 3 of the 5 to do. So again, look at your strengths and pick the ones that you know you will do best in. And then lastly, your essays, 4 essays. My biggest tip, guys, give yourselves 30 minutes per essay. Write 30 minutes, stop where you are, write your second essay, stop where you are, and then always come back to it. Don't waste time on things that you can always come back to. Those are my tips.
That's true. Well, that's where we have to end it. Sedim, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Oh my gosh, guys, I had so much fun with you guys today. I can't wait to come back. I can't wait to do
And
this
a
again.
big shout out to your sister who's
Big
been
shout
here.
out to my Bali. She came with me today, and we've been here the whole day just learning the ropes. It's been so awesome. Mindset is from me to you. Shout out to mommy as well.
Cool, awesome. We love you guys. Peace.